Largest state spending plan in state history. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has signed the $750 million tax increase measure that passed the Illinois State House. Welcome in, it's Bishop on Air. Thanks for being here and joining me each and every weekday morning. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and be sure to check out thecentersquare.com. It's where I'm at full time, and you can see all the news articles about what's going on in Illinois. And we've got a lot of stories there of legislation that's advanced, pending action by the governor, other measures that are being considered by the governor. So be sure to check that website out because they passed, 465 different measures this spring session that just wrapped up. And in Illinois, it's not a whole lot of legislation. Last year, they passed 665 bills. But this past spring, only 460 some odd bills. And a package being the budget. So last week, the governor on Wednesday signed the $53.1 billion spending plan. It pays for non-citizen migrants in excess of $900+ million. It gives about a quarter of the $53.1 billion budget to K through 12 and higher education. It also gives more than $10 billion to the state's pension funds, which we could do a deep dive into the troubles with the state's pension funds. Probably take an entire hour-long segment to do that. So we've got that as well in the mix of the budget, and all of this being the most expensive taxpayer-funded spending plan for the state of Illinois in state history. There needed to be tax increases to pay for that. Now, the tax increase bill was not sent to the governor by his signing ceremony Wednesday. Instead, it was sent to the governor a few days later, and then Friday, he signed it, the tax increase package. So the budget's now in place. There's a few other things, including a measure I'll touch on here in a moment, dealing with the grocery tax that has yet to be signed. But that measure also has some things in it that people are scratching their heads about. So to the issue of the tax increase bill, $750 million of increased taxes. Where's that coming from? So you've got around $200 million, I believe, that is expected to come from a tiered tax on sports betting companies. And this is if a company makes more than $5 million, they get a certain tax. If they make more than $100 million, then they get a higher tax. If they make more than $200 million, they give it a higher tax. So it's a graduated tax, a progressive tax on sports betting companies. So that's in the package. Also in the package is a cap on the net operating loss deductions that businesses can take. This was actually a pretty hefty price tag. It was about $500 million, if not more, in the estimated tax revenue that would generate. So that was in this tax increase package. You also have a cap on the retailer discounts. And this is the tax that retailers get, the credit they get for collecting and remitting state and local sales taxes. As I've said, when you've got the retailer taking that exchange, you buy the goods, you get the goods, then you got to pay the tax. There's not a state tax man standing there saying, give us the tax revenue now. No, the retailer is acting as the tax man. It takes time and resources from that private business, and they have to collect the tax and remit it. They also have to, answer to any potential audits there may be, even like spot checks and things like that. So there's a lot of resources that go to that. So retailers would get a credit. Well, this law, the governor signed Friday, caps that credit, and retailers pushed back on that. So in exchange, the retailers apparently got a get from a deal where the state is now going to prohibit interchange fees on sales taxes and gratuity. What are interchange fees? Well, when you swipe your credit card, you're utilizing infrastructure of a financial institution. So the financial institution charges a fee anytime you swipe. Well, the law the governor signed Friday prohibits interchange fees on sales tax and gratuity. And how this is going to play out will be interesting. I think it has to go through rules, and you may have the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules discussing how this is going to play out and how the agency is going to enforce that. The financial institution said this is going to pretty much require a massive overhaul to where the consumer may have to swipe twice, once for the goods and then once for the sales tax, or once for the food you got at a restaurant and then another time for the gratuity. So is this going to change your purchasing habits? Are you going to have to carry around more cash? I mean, these are obvious questions, but the governor, when he was asked about this last week, he downplayed it and said there's going to be all year that we can see how this is going to work. So that's no benefit to the states. That's just a benefit to the retailers not having to pay a little bit more for utilizing the infrastructure of the financial institutions when it comes to the credit card system and the debit card system. So that was also in the package. Something else in the tax increase package the governor signed Friday was an increase in the video gaming terminal tax. So got a proliferation of video gaming machines all across the state. These are gambling machines, video poker type things. And there's a tax. The state gets a cut, locals get a cut, the video game operator gets a cut, and the video game housing place, the business who has it, they get a cut, right? But the state wants more, so they added on an additional tax to video gaming terminals, and that goes into an infrastructure fund. But people pushed back and asked, well, wait a second, what's going on here with this? Chicago doesn't have any video gaming machines. Well, Springfield has more video gaming machines than I think parts of Las Vegas, which is kind of fascinating when you really break down some of those numbers. But you got pushback saying that, number one, this might hurt some of those institutions, some of those businesses that have these. Number two, how's it fair to send all that money up to Chicago when they don't have video gaming machines? So interesting to see that. But those weren't the only measures that the governor signed. He also signed, a measure, House Bill 4582, which is the bond authorization. It allows the state to go even more into debt, $8 billion more into debt. And it also allows for local school boards to increase property taxes without a referendum. All right, so $8 billion in more debt through bond authorization. And at the same time, they put in there that school boards can increase property taxes without a referendum. Tom Weber, a Republican from Lake Villa, he said that, you heard that right, folks. He says they can increase taxes without a referendum. So the bill states that beginning September 1st, 2024, no referendum shall be required to build or purchase a building for school classrooms or instructional purposes. Prior to the building or purchase of the building, the board determines by resolution, not by referendum, that the building or purchase will result in an increase in the pre-kindergarten and kindergarten classroom space in the district. Another measure the governor signed Friday was the Medicaid Omnibus Bill, which changes various rates of service and then also allows for pharmacists to conduct tests like flu and HIV and COVID-19. So, again, some of the measures the governor signed on Friday, the tax increase bill, the bonding authority going into debt, and then the Medicaid Omnibus, which I think had a cost of like $68 million more than what the Medicaid plans usually cost the state of Illinois. But one measure that the governor has yet to sign, but it's on his desk, deals with a whole host of things. And if you look at bills pending governor action, HB 3144, it's right there at the top. This is the measure that gets rid of the grocery tax. All right. So if you recall, in 2022, the governor and the legislature reduced the grocery tax from 1% to 0% for a 12-month period, right? At the same time, they froze that state gas tax increase that was supposed to go up July 1st that year. But they only did that for 6 months. So you had two gas tax increases in 2023, January 1st and July 1st. We got another gas tax increase coming up July 1st of this year. It's going to go up about another 2 cents. But regardless, the governor, he in February said, we're going to get rid of the grocery tax statewide. And then local municipalities pushed back. And they said we're going to lose out on like $300 million locally, and there was no backfill. Well, instead of going with the Republicans' idea of taking some of the local government distributive fund dollars and putting that into local coffers, to backfill the loss of the grocery tax. Apparently, the legislature decided to give local governments more taxing authority. So when you look through this bill synopsis here on ilga.gov of House Bill 3144, yes, House Bill 3144. You'll see that, it reduces the grocery tax, but at the same time, it allows for municipalities to increase their own grocery tax. But it also authorizes corporate authorities of any municipality by ordinance to take effect January 1st, 2026 to impose a 1% tax upon the business of selling groceries. It adds certain non-home rule use and occupation tax is subject to referendum approval, makes other changes. So you've got the ability for governments, local governments, to increase taxes on individuals. So when, again, you look at the $750 million tax increase bill, that gives school boards the ability to increase property taxes without a referendum. And then you've got in the grocery tax reduction bill, local governments being given the power to increase taxes. So you got several ways here in which tax increases are possible, especially on a local level. And this is interesting because, the governor, he's going to hear this a lot in some of the speeches he gives, is they reduce the grocery tax. They reduce the grocery tax. Well, number one, that bill has not been signed yet. Number two, the grocery tax won't be reduced when he signs it. It'll actually be reduced January 1st of 2026. January 1st of 2026. So Republicans pushed back on this idea, saying it was an election year stunt. Again, the governor has yet to sign that measure, but we'll be watching the bill announcements when he ultimately does enact these and other measures. All right. It is Bishop on Air. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Join me each and every weekday morning as we break down some of the news impacting you here in Illinois. So greatly appreciate you guys being here. Follow me anywhere. Just search Bishop on Air and we can connect that way.